Hey guys, welcome. Man, do we have an amazing, incredible show. John LaRoy, Apparel Redefined. Dude, it looks like you've got a new, a wonderful setup, a new studio. What's happening here at Apparel
Yeah,
Redefined?
don't want to one up you, but I just did. So
Now, let me correct you. I know you do want to one up me because
yeah,
it's not. Now the thing
close
is,
the art.
I set the bar so low that it wasn't too tough to beat. But
It
man,
was.
you have what a great background for Apparel Redefined. What's going on with the new studio?
Well, yeah, special thanks to Ben Walters, our new hire. One of the first tasks, he was watching some of our stuff during the hiring process, and he's like, "You just need to do better." So I'm like, "All
Dude,
right, well then, do better." So this is
did,
what he came up with on a very limited budget, but yeah, it's working out great. So
Well, hey, kudos to Ben and me. Can you do me a favor, send Ben over to my place so we can do
sure.
something with this? Because I desperately need some help. So, all right, let's dive in. So, man, what an honor, what a privilege. We've got our dear friend Joe, Mental Joe is the company that we're going to be talking about. We're with our dear friend Chad. Chad, happy Tuesday, my friend. Thank you for joining us. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you guys having me on and diving into this and learn a little bit about Mental Joe and how we got where we're getting to. So,
Yeah, I tell you, this is an honor privilege. First off, I want to give a huge heartfelt thank you for serving our country. What an honor, what a privilege. You're a hero. I know you're super modest, super humble, and probably don't want to hear that, but you are definitely a hero to us. So thank you for your service. What I'd love to do is you've gone, man, what a great walk of life. You just sharing that Billings, Montana, you corporate, served our country, corporate career, entrepreneurial journey. Give us a little, the 10,000 foot overview, as you like to say. Give us an
yeah,
overview of who you are, and then we're going to run right up to when you started Mental Joe.
yeah, you got it. So, Chad McLean, middle child of three kids, an older brother, a younger sister. My brother actually lives out here in Chicago. He's in the Oak Park area. He wrote for the Tribune and the Sun Times and various other syndications and papers and whatnot. But middle child of those three. Grew up in Billings, Montana, my entire life. Pretty poor. Growing up was on welfare, the good old paper monopoly food stamp money back in the day. Did that. Sadly, my dad, did not have the tools to help me be the man that I am today. But my dad was an abusive alcoholic and kind of grew up through that. Fast forward, was not a very strong student. I just didn't care about school. It was boring. It didn't excite me. There was other things I wanted to do. And then jumped into the military. I would say the cap and gown for me probably wasn't even on the ground. And I was off to Fort Benning, Georgia, which for those that aren't familiar, I think it's Fort Moore now, but Fort Benning, Georgia was home of the infantry. So that's where Ranger School's at and, airborne school and things of that nature. Went through airborne school, ended up going through RIP, which is a Ranger Indoctrination Program, and was stationed at the 2nd Ranger Battalion out in Fort Lewis, Washington. Um, Through that, actually burnt in on a night jump over in Spokane. It was a training thing that we're doing. We're doing a mast hack jump over the airfield to take over the airfield. And I actually burnt in on that jump. And we'll get into that probably a little bit later in this conversation. But that's kind of a very pivotal moment where kind of life in most recently has kind of showed me where that's where life kind of pivoted for me quite a bit. But got out of the military. I
You
didn't
just
have,
explain what burnt in means.
yeah,
Yeah.
burnt in. Yeah. So my parachute ended up collapsing. Long story short, it was a night jump and there was a parachute below me. And as I looked down, they kind of teach you to run off the canopy. And my chute ended up collapsing. And then as I kind of slid off the canopy of, the other guy jumping, uh, I burnt in. Next thing you know, I'm waking up on the ground, and to this day, I kind of fight with it. I try to figure out, was it a 10-foot burn in? Was it a 50-foot? Like where at what height did I burn in and hit the ground? But when that happened, and again, I know we'll get more in depth, and it completely destroyed my back. And then from there, like a lot of sadly, like a lot of veterans ended up popping pain pills and such, so I could still operate and try to do my job. But did that, ended up getting out, had no idea what I was going to do with life, and went back home to Billings, Montana. Ran my own insurance company. I was one of the youngest all-state insurance agents in Montana ever. Did very well. Ran that for about 3 years, and then just kind of had an aha moment of, there's a little bit more to life than just sitting behind an Allstate desk, and moved down to Phoenix, Arizona. And I've been down there now for about 20 years, but my time down there got in with Bank of America during the foreclosure crisis, in 07 through 09 and forward, and ran a foreclosure division at Bank of America for almost 13 years. And then kind of played in that real estate corporate market and some, realtor type stuff for almost 20 years. And then again, you just kind of fast forward through all that, just the stress of real estate. And a lot of people, I don't think realize how stressful real estate is. You don't close a deal, you don't get paid. So everything's a very turn and burn, a very time sensitive, industry. And I hit burnout mode. I was making really good money. I was making really good bonuses, but just completely burnt out and tired. And roughly about 4.5 years ago, almost took my life. Just wore out, real tired. I was tired of the chatter that was going on in the brain, and how do I slow this down? And so through that, I call it like I see it, and went to the cuckoo bend for a week. I was up there and, didn't know what was going on or what the next steps were for Carrie, and me. I didn't know if divorce was on the table or what those next steps were, but she did some research and found ketamine, and started doing ketamine therapy probably about a month and a half when I was released. And through that experience, lo and behold, I hate saying it because it's kind of woo woo, right? But kind of had a vision, maybe if that's the right, label we want to put on that, of go start an apparel company. Again, I was in real estate for 20 years. I had no idea, even what a tri-blend shirt was, let alone how the hell am I going to put this stuff on a t-shirt. I was very novice to it all, but for some reason I had faith that this was the road we needed to take to kind of spread the word of what I'm very vocal about now is psychedelic therapy. And so our brand is there, and you can see some of the shirts, and kind of the one I have on now is, we try to have these designs that elicit some conversations from people to be like, hey, like mushrooms and grenades don't really go together. Why? And so then that opens up the door to kind of tell my story and where I'm at. And what's really interesting is you find out real quick that we're all very close similarly to certain stories of, trauma and things that have happened throughout our lives. And before you know it, that individual that I'm talking to is now dipping their toe in, well, hey, how do I get ketamine therapy? Or where do I go for a psychedelic retreat and things of that nature? So now we've kind of become this platform of, we use apparel to bring awareness, but the long-term goal is to be so profitable that my goal is to write $1 million checks to these veterans and first responder foundations that can use that money then to go help these first responders, these veterans, or these average Joes go heal themselves. It's so powerful that I think if people remove the labels of, psychedelics and just look at the science behind it and what it does to the neuroplasticity and the neurotransmitters within the brain, you'll find out that these things, if used in the right context, can really help people and get over a lot of hurdles that, we tell ourselves in our brain. So that's kind of the quick 10,000 foot version, if I can, but feel free to elaborate and poke at me with what you want to go down the rabbit hole on.
John, just share a little bit. How did you cross paths with Chad?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great story, honestly. But we were talking about this last night at dinner, and mutual friend, mutual connection. We got connected through as we launched our print on demand vertical and started marketing the app. I think Chad, I'm gonna say a sucker because that's what we're talking about marketing, but he landed on our landing page for the app, and started through an email conversation, really, with Derek. And fast forward, that was probably about 8, 9, 10 months ago, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
roughly.
Longer.
Yeah,
Okay.
could be in that wheelhouse. Yeah.
And connected through there. Started, Chad's been having regular conversations with Derek pretty much every week. Since they started, and we've been trying to lock down a date for a trip together, and we finally made it happen here. But yeah, just a phenomenal guy. The mutual connections that we have and mutual interests and the people that we know in the circles, because I'm really into the psychedelic healing as well. And a key word you said there too is healing, not treatment, right?
Yeah.
You hear treatment, and it's just masking a symptom, and the true healing is powerful. And a lot of the research, Dr. Huberman, a lot of the stuff that I've been researching, my wife's in behavioral health. So that was a hot button issue for the past 5, 6 years. And now with it really becoming mainstream, um, there's no doubt that there is measurable lifelong benefits to the correct environment, correct application of these medicines. So yeah, it's really,
Yeah,
really cool.
absolutely.
Really cool stuff.
So Chad, let's go here if you don't mind me. I want to take you back to 2020. You're very candid, very transparent, and just kind of putting it out there. And what I love, a couple things, if you don't mind me sharing, you said, you mentioned your dad, and if say for folks, there's challenges where your dad gave you the tools of maybe, hey, this is how not to act or how not to be a father. So he actually kind of did you a favor of like, hey, do otherwise, right? 2020, you had the wherewithal, and I'm going to give you a label, courage. You had the courage to say, this isn't going the right direction. I don't like where I'm going. I need help. What was going through your mind at that time? Like, how did you have the courage to seek help and to get to where you are now?
Well, I think the seeking help came through holding the gun to my head, intention on the trigger, and the wife calling the sheriff's department saying, "Hey, my husband's trying to kill himself." So I don't know if it's so much courage as like it was. I felt like that was a way out. I just, I did the traditional therapy. I've done all the talk therapy. I was on some kind of SSRI or some kind of mood controlled substance, right, for a good portion of my life, let's say 20 years. Um, and so with that, like I knew my thought process wasn't normal. I knew the way I viewed things wasn't normal. I was a guy like I could plan for every bad outcome of any meeting, anything that was going to happen. Like I could tell you every scenario that was going to happen that was negative, but could never tell you anything positive about maybe something that was coming through the pipeline. I was always planning for the worst possible outcome. And so my mind it did that for, a good chunk of my life. And I was wore out, I mean, in 2020, COVID's hot, political environment's hot, everything's on fire, and I hit a breaking point, through just different conversations and just knowing that, okay, I'm not doing this corporate real estate. I've got mental health issues. I'm a loser. I'm a bum. Best way for me to do that is just, take my life and move on. And hopefully my wife and my two sons at the time will have a better life without me. And sadly, I think when you talk with folks that have had that thought process, that's the thing. It's not that we want to kill ourselves or we don't want to be around. It's I am better off if I am gone. And that's truly not the story, right? Like they need us around, but in our own minds, we figure we're a burden on these people. So if I can be done with myself, then I'm less of a burden to everybody else.
Well, all right. Very powerful, dude. Thank you for sharing again. Thank you for your candidness, your vulnerability, your honesty. Let's dive into Mental Joe. And I'm going to pull up your website in a couple minutes, but I'd like to share you had a vision. Like, dude, military guy, corporate, foreclosures, you're crushing it in real estate. And all of a sudden, like, I mean, that's a pretty 180 turn, right? Or whatever
It's a big
degree
pivot.
turn. It's a huge, I'd say a minor pivot if I could. So
Yeah.
just what was going through the mind, at that time of like, hey, I'm going for this. You mentioned your wife, Carrie, the support system to kind of get this entrepreneurial journey off the ground. Share what was going on through that time.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a struggle. It's like, where do you start, right? Like, what T-shirts do you put it on? What are you looking at? Hats? Are you looking at hoodies? So then it's just, it's the whole licensing setup. I got to get wholesale licensing to get this pricing, and then you got to get all these other licenses with the state of Arizona, and I'm a nonprofit on top of that. So then I've got to file for all that, and then it's like, okay, we have this really cool logo that we don't know what to do with. Well, let's go trademark it. So then we go trademark it. So it's all this stuff. I had no clue what I was doing, but I literally just kind of stumbled through it all, to be honest. And we started getting some traction. Before you know it, we're doing a couple different posts here on social media, and we're creating. This is probably in 2.5 years. This is probably our fifth website. It tells you how anal I was with like, what are we doing? It tells you I didn't know what I was doing, right? But just kind of fumbled through it, and but we started building a community where people were looking at us and going, "Hey, this guy's kind of authentic. He kind of calls it like he sees it. Like we're kind of interested in what he's saying. And before you know it, people are buying t-shirts. And I can still remember I got my first order and I was like, holy shit, like someone really liked this design. They actually bought a shirt. Hey babe, you know, we're not going to get rich, but damn, we sold a shirt. And then there was a big MAPS conference. MAPS stands for Multiple Disciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies. Rick Doblin is the founder of that. So they had this huge conference up in Denver, and it was really kind of a jump off point for us. We didn't know if we're going to be a sink or swim, but you know, we went up to this big conference, 15,000 people, and brought a bunch of apparel. I drove from Phoenix all the way up to Denver, pulling a trailer, and said, "All right, well, let's see what we can do." And in 3 days, we sold close to $24,000 in just t-shirts. And so at that point, we said, "Okay, we've got something. People understand what we're trying to accomplish. People dig the designs." And for me, it was really kind of cool to see people walking up to the booth and they'd look at a design or they'd look at a t-shirt and they'd just chuckle, because in the psychedelic ecosystem, everything's, you know, just vomit tie-dye in your face. It's not these little subtle designs that have a little bit of a mushroom here or a little bit of something here or a hidden message. And each shirt we try to, you know, have some kind of a hidden message or a meaning behind it, so it elicits that conversation. And then just from there, we just kind of keep creating designs. We keep kind of growing. And so, yeah, so Mental Joe, you know, we're roughly been at this about 2.5 years. And it's been a wild wake up call, but I'm learning every single day. And now, because I've gone through some pretty traumatic therapies with psychedelics and stuff, I look at things as failures now as a way to learn, as opposed to before. The old Chad was, I failed, therefore I'm a loser. I'm not good at life. I'm not good at this other stuff. Now I'm like, give me the failure sooner so I can learn quicker. So a lot of different mental changes in this last 4.5 years.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, you get a PhD really fast in those learning opportunities, right?
Yes.
So, John, let's go here, man. So, you know, we have the privilege, you know, you talk to all sorts of entrepreneurs day in, day out. We've had numerous entrepreneurs. Everybody has their journey, their challenges, their struggles. You know, what's going through your mind as you're hearing Chad's story, his entrepreneurial journey?
It's a lot to navigate, right? You know, it's when you have someone that's really purpose driven and they have a really solid why, it's really converse, because a lot of people get started for the wrong reasons and they don't know their why. And that's reflected in the message, the brand, the employees, you know, your network of people. But when you start with a why, but you don't know how to do anything else, it's difficult, right? Because you're so purpose driven, and you can see years off into the distance of what it's going to look like, how it's going to impact other people,
Yeah.
and the positivity it's going to bring, for real, authentic positivity, not just financial reward. But then that road in between now and there isn't very clear, right?
No.
You can see the end or where you want to be really clearly, but you can't see the path, right? We were talking last night, like you see the timeline, but you don't see dates and you don't see details. You see it, but
Exactly.
you can't put your lens on to make it clear, right? So what I hear is like, how can we help that person? How can we help this person make that timeline clear, hit those milestones, hit those goals, turn turn the vision into reality, essentially, right? And in this world, especially with like these unique designs, print on demand is the perfect solution for it, right? Like the psychedelic look where there is, you know, color vomit on there. It's a big risk in the screen print world to throw a 15 color design on a t-shirt and commit to a 265 piece minimum and not know if you're going to sell any, right? That risk is completely mitigated with high quality print on demand through DTG. And, you know, you throw it on the site, you can see if your community likes it, and you can also be able to market to certain different verticals, right? Because I think you're very unique in the psychedelic community where you're not your traditional, you know, Woodstock.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I don't have the dreads and the nose ring and the purple
and
hair.
Not that that's the entire community, right? But there is a segment of the community like that.
Yeah.
But the more mainstream this gets, you know, the more popular microdosing and corporate retreats and all this type of stuff. There's a different segment of market that might not run to a full color design like this, right? So you have the ability to convey a message across multiple different verticals and through apparel, right? You know, like the power of branded apparel, Kurt, we always talk about, like the ability to carry that message. And what this message that that Chad's wearing right now can mean multiple different things for multiple different people. But the power of wearing it on your shirt, to let other people know, like, hey, who is that guy? What is he doing? And then there's a vision and a purpose behind it where he's giving back to the local community, first responders, veterans, to be able to participate in this ritual and medicine that they wouldn't otherwise have access to, and really, potentially lose 15, 20, 30 years or their entire life because they can't deal with that trauma.
Yep.
So it's just an unbelievable mission, purpose, and vision. And the T-shirt is the avenue to get him where he wants to be. And I'm just really honored to be a part of it, to partner with Chad and his vision. It's really impactful when you're able to work with people that have a really clear vision, and it's not just word service or coach speak. We were talking a little bit about last night. It actually means something, and you can see the direct impact of his work really quickly. So, the print-on-demand service, just-in-time apparel, helps him get to that finish line, which is just another starting line, a lot quicker.
Yeah. I mean, for us, I was struggling with that fulfillment piece quite a bit, and along this entrepreneurial road that we all drive, I think in our society, it's go as fast and hard as you can and put your head down. Well, I've done that, but same thing, that burnout comes and you start making mistakes because you're so in the woods that you can't zoom out. So there's been plenty of times, and I'm kind of in a pause mode right now with social media and a couple other things, just so we can kind of tighten our foundation up. And there's certain things that we're trying to, tweak and not. And so finding, John and his company, it just made sense. For me, I was doing everything from the social media to, the design work, to hiring GDs, to doing the manufacture, all of it. And it was just too much. And so I paused and I read a book by Dan Martell. And he talks about, having stuff done 80% done by somebody else is 100% better for you. Right. So it's like, okay, it might not be the Chad way, but I need to separate that, and I need to look and, set my expectations for what I'm expecting. But like John said, I didn't have to go print these shirts and now hold stock of this stuff in my garage and hope it sells. Now it's a very clean product. It's still on a shirt that we like and our customer base likes, and it ships out. And it's done, it's off my table, and I don't have to worry about it. Now I can go focus on another part of my business because now I have a team that can do that fulfillment portion for me. And now I can play with designs differently, right? Like I can throw something out there, like my wife might like a woman's design or something. Okay, let's throw in a crop top and see what happens. We sell two. Probably didn't pay for the design, but you know what? Now we know that's not going to sell on a bigger market. So it's helped us pivot quite a bit to focus on some other things in our business.
Well, I love that. And what I'm hearing, John, as you're saying that print on demand, the flexibility gives you so much. It gives you agility to be more adherent to your customers, more accommodating as an entrepreneur. It allows you to take more risks. And like you're saying, Chad, you can laser focus on what you do best at, whether it's a marketing piece or some of these other pieces. It takes a village to raise a business, right? It takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to raise a business. So when you combine with other subject matter experts like the team at Apparel Redefined, it just helps elevate your business. I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I want to take a peek at your website. I'd love to share it with everybody. And can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we got it.
And all right, let's go a little bit wider. And Chad, absolutely love this. So a tagline that I found, conquer the battle within, changing lives one shirt at a time. Again, what an admirable cause here. Just share a little bit about your website, and I'm gonna, as you're chatting, I'm gonna navigate and just show folks, some of the product that you offer here.
Yeah, so I mean, currently Mental Joe we're a nonprofit apparel company. And that's my first pitch. I always tell people, like, hey man, we can take in-kind work. So if you want to help us out, give me a little sweat equity, and you get a little tax write-off, at the end of the year for you. But our website there, those some friends there, the gentleman in the Run DMT shirt, believe it or not, that's Marcus McGee. He's a UFC fighter that is fighting this November in the top 15 bantamweight out of Phoenix, Arizona. So, I've got some fun friends that really understand this plant medicine ecosystem that come out and give me their time to go do a little photo shoot. But yeah, that's kind of our page there. The Conquer the Battle Within. It was a tagline that just made sense. It was something that it's said really easy. You could understand it, and people got it right away. And we trademarked that. So we own that saying, and that's ours, along with our logo and everything. But we try to make an easy kind of page to digest here, to let people know immediately what we're about and where we're going, with this. And as you scroll down, you got some of our favorites, and kind of gives you an idea of where we're at. And we're kind of opening up our design book. And again, to John and his team, that's helped us, like look at things of, okay, we still want to be very psychedelic focused on the therapy, but now we can open up our design book to say, now we have some politically incorrect type shirts, and we're going to have a kids line and a couple other things to kind of grow our brand. Because again, at the end of the day, is if I am profitable, we can now write checks to help, like I said, veterans, your first responders, your average Joes, go get these therapies. But that's our main page there. Our tab, we've got a tab up top there. It's called Resources. And the reason I really love this tab, and again, we're trying to curate this and make it as clean as possible and get better with it. But as you can see in the drop down there, you got mental health organizations, you got retreats, you got tension and trauma exercise, which I'm a coach of. And the reason we put this there is I was the average Joe. I was confused. I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know what psychedelics were, to be honest, and I didn't know where to go or who had all the right information. So just through talking with people and having conversations and understanding the people that hold these spaces, that's why we created this resource tab to kind of show people like, hey, here's some foundations, and a lot of them are veteran centric of, hey, these are people that hold these spaces in certain countries or certain states in the US. That you can reach out to and understand their programming and how that space is held for you. Or, we've got articles and podcasts and videos that talk about these subjects to give people a little kind of, as I call it, they're on the fence. So they're kind of peeking over the fence. They want to learn about this stuff. They want to understand it, but they don't know where to go. So we figured, if people are on our site anyways, and they're going to buy a hat or a hoodie or a t-shirt, like, let's give them an opportunity to have some education behind this stuff. So they walk away having a different perspective of these said medicines, if you want.
Yeah, I love it. And so and what I'd like to do is let's dive into the business side of things. Let's talk about some of the products. Like you said, you come up with some fun, there's a lot of creativity. Just share with us some of the different product designs and what I'll cruise around here and just share with us some of the thoughts here behind your designs.
Yeah, so I'll talk about that middle one with the gentleman that popped up there, and he might look familiar to some people if you watch that, but his name is Mike Gabler. Mike Gabler is a close friend now. We talk quite a bit. Love the dude to death, but he was on the CBS series Survivor and was the season 43 winner of Survivor. And what was really cool is Mike won $1 million. So what he did with his $1 million is he donated his $1 million to all veteran nonprofit foundations or companies, and we were a recipient of that. So Mike donated us some money, and to what was even more interesting to can I connect dots and tell people where some of this plant medicine stuff can go if you're paying attention, is we had no idea how we were going to get to the MAPS conference. I had to pay for booth, I had to pay for tickets, I had to pay for apparel, and that's we were close to 20-25 grand out of pocket. Credit cards, a whole 9 yards. Out of nowhere, I am 60 days out from this conference, shitting my pants, going, how are we paying for this? What are we going to do?
No way.
Mike reaches out and he jumps us a check for 25 grand. And I was like, oh my God, this is what we need. So little things like that within this ecosystem happens to me all the time. So that's Michael there. The Buffalo Into the Storm design is a big seller for us. And the reason for that is when you go through a psychedelic therapy experience, you have no idea what you're getting into, right? Like, you have the courage enough to go set with this medicine to say, okay, I'm open to see what medicine is going to show me that I need to deal with, or what are my shortcomings, right? And so if you even zoom out further and you realize the buffalo is one of the only animals that will actually put its head down and run through a storm to get through the storm quicker, we kind of came up with our psychedelic buffalo, right? Like, awesome. You're going to go set with psychedelics. You don't know what's coming, but you're willing to put your head down to drive through to go find out what your shortcomings are. So hints into the storm are psychedelic buffalo. So that's kind of where that comes from. You look at the other one there, that's kind of a fun one, the Bufo alvarius toad. It's the Sonoran toad. And what a lot of people don't realize is that toad creates DMT. And the little psychedelic sacs that you see in that design are sitting right behind the toad's eyes. And so it's funny, I live in Arizona where the Sonoran toad is and lives, and people always talk about don't pick up the toads and lick it, right? That's kind of the running joke in the desert. But when you secrete the venom from the sacs and you smoke it, it is DMT, and it creates a psychedelic experience like no other. We kind of call it the God molecule, if you will, or we kind of call it the rocket ship. But that's kind of a shout out to Da Vinci. If you look at that design, that's kind of the toad there, but that's the Ultravirus man, the Da Vinci. And so we kind of did that with our toad there. So again, kind of if people are paying attention, there's some subtleness and some hidden meanings to some of our designs. And then that one's when we have our basic, that's just our conquer the battle within to talk to our veteran community again that doesn't want to talk or wear the loud and bright, psychedelic. And we're kind of pivoting on some of that too. We're getting in designs, as you can see one there. Don't believe everything you think, right? We're trying to just have some of these saying ones, or we're going to get to real clean, just t-shirts that might have a one-word saying on it that says believe, right? So now we can talk to a completely different audience. They understand what we're doing, but they can't wear the grizzly mushroom shirt to work per se. The Kennedy shirt there, I have a connection with the Kennedy campaign. So we did some stuff for them. That shirt that you're on there with Marcus is our shout out to Star Wars and the Mandalorian there of, this is the way. And he's got mushrooms on his armor and things of that way. We try to have fun with these, but we still try to tie in some kind of psychedelic meaning behind this. And like I said, Marcus is a close friend. So we actually hold his collection on our website for him. And we're just getting ready to launch I think a couple of hats for Marcus and a hoodie as well. So we're branched out in a lot of different ways. We've got a buddy, Scotty Hastings, who's an up and coming Nashville country singer that we're doing hats and t-shirts for as well. So though we are very psychedelic centric, we're kind of all over the place as far as different people that are peeking over the fence. That fighter pilot one there that you're on there, Kurt, is a group. His name is Wiz. Matthew Buckley is his name. His call sign is Wiz. He was a Top Gun graduate at the Navy fighter pilot out there, in Miramar. So, but he is in the psychedelic. He actually holds space. He is one of the people that we have on our resource tab that veterans can go to and go set with it. But we do apparel for the group No Fallen Heroes, and that's a hoodie that we released along with a t-shirt and hat combo that we've got with these guys as well. And we're getting ready to launch, I think, very soon, probably a heavy hoodie for winter. That's kind of our sun hoodie that we've done with them. But we're getting in that space where we're starting to collaborate with other foundations, because my kind of pitch to these foundations is, why don't you go focus on the healing? Allow me to hold that space of having apparel. We'll hold it. It brings us some different eyes to our website. And as we sell this, you get the profit. So you go market it, we'll hold it, and we'll do the apparel side for you. And then, at the end of the day, we'll cut you a check for what was sold, so go heal people. Let us focus on this. So as you can see, there's that tab there that says t-shirt collab that we just kind of pushed out, that people can go on to. And if they're curious and they want to collaborate with us, they can fill out this little online form that gives me kind of an idea of what they're looking for, what they want to do. Do they have artwork? Do they not have artwork? And just, it's a very new process for us, but we've already had 2 or 3 people filling it out. And so, again, navigating from doing real estate to now I'm having a thing online saying, hey, we'll come do your t-shirts, let us know. So we've done stuff with that hockey one there that it's Ryan Malone at Pittsburgh Penguins. He was I think he's a Hall of Famer for the Penguins. Mm-hmm. We did that design for the Malone Foundation. We did some hats and things for him. So it's kind of interesting, some of the different lives and different avenues of people that have reached out to us from, Danny Carcillo. He's he was a 2-time Stanley Cup winner for the Chicago Blackhawks. He's kind of a buddy of ours, and we sent some shirts and stuff to him. So it's really interesting to see the different people that are in this space that really understand what we're trying to do. And we're trying to be that lift for a lot of people that have like, hey, you guys go hold the space in healing. Let us worry about the apparel for you.
Man, what a great line. You do the healing, we'll take care of the apparel. And so, Chad, what did you ever see yourself getting into the apparel business?
Not only did I not see myself getting into the apparel business, I didn't see myself ever promoting or talking about psychedelics.
Yeah.
I was,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I was a Montana kid.
Yeah.
I was a dare kid. I was one of the kids in high school that went around to elementaries and said, no to drugs,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the fact that, I'll be 47 at the end of this month, but I feel like I've just started life again in this last
Nice.
2 years. Things have really started picking up for me. And, back in the day, it was all money. I was always a top 1 or 2% guy in real estate. There wasn't a bonus I probably ever missed. I was just good at it. But there was no purpose behind it. It was just money hungry grab. How do I step on your throat to get up the ladder kind of a thing? And now I'm okay. How do I help people heal? How do I talk about this enough that opens the eyes to that kid in Kansas that goes out to a shop and numbs himself out in a bottle of JD because he can't talk about his feelings because our society has told him that's inappropriate, right? And it's really cool. It's the other side of the business that people don't get to see with Mental Joe. We have people constantly, if not daily, that reach out to Carrie and I that say, hey, I'm really interested in ketamine. I'm really interested in a retreat. Or, hey, what is this microdosing thing about? And so we're kind of coaches. I don't want to say we're mentors, but we're kind of guides and coaches to help people navigate this water that they might not have any information about. One of my couple cool success stories is I was on the Grunt Style podcast, and we're all pretty familiar with Grunt Style and their brand. And I went down to that podcast, and next thing you know, I'm getting calls from veterans that are very curious about this. And I got a call from one veteran who's a Vietnam veteran, 72 years old, has lived with the trauma of 50 plus years of the Vietnam War, and he did ketamine therapy. After hearing my podcast, he went and sat with ketamine in the valley there of a ketamine clinic we recommend. And he called me back, I don't know, a couple weeks later, and he said, Chad, I don't know how many more years I have left in my life. I'm an old man. That door is starting to close. He goes, but I can promise you, whatever time I have left will be the best amount of time I've ever spent on earth. And so when I get that feedback from people, that's the drive to keep going and keep talking about this stuff, because whether it's one person or 10 people, it's changing that life for the betterment. And we call it the mycelium network in this little ecosystem. But I feel like we're building that little army of mycelium that people are slowly talking about our brand because we've helped them. And that's how we're really grown, is really just by community and word of mouth.
Changing one shirt at a time. And thank goodness, your story wasn't over in 2020 and you had a lot of work left in you. So thank God, Carrie and other people that loved you got you through a difficult time. And so, it's a privilege for John and I to hear this story. John, as we wind down, your thoughts, take away from this incredibly inspiring story with Chad. What are your thoughts?
I mean, not many times I'm speechless, but this time I am a little bit. I mean, it's powerful. Again, we had a great conversation last night, talked about his history. I've always been super interested in combat community, the special ops, that type of stuff, the training, the strength through grit, the camaraderie, everything that when you work out together and you go through hard shit together, like what that does to create team, I saw it from the athletic side growing up and just being able to talk about that. But then also, when you're around alphas and you don't want to let anybody else down, but you bury stuff internally, and learning how to deal with that stuff at some point, because either you do or you don't. And like what you just said about this guy having the best, maybe last year, last 5 years, hopefully 10, 20, whatever it is. That's a gift that it's free to give, and the best gifts are free to give, but it's an unbelievable to be the recipient of that gift, and you're doing that. That's awesome. That's awesome, man. And having that ability to grow and be able to give that gift as many times you possibly can. If we can help you on that journey with apparel, man, that's amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's what John talks all the time about. You're not selling t-shirts or material, per se. It's the memories, and as you mentioned earlier, that brand promise. And what an incredibly admirable, admirable cause that you've created, Chad, to help people. This 72-year-old Vietnam veteran. Are you kidding me? Right?
Yeah.
You're changing lives and you're allowing people to say, you know what? I know it's cliche. I'm not okay right now. That it's okay to not be okay, and there's a better way to get through this. Last question for you, my friend. You mentioned, your entrepreneurial journey, again, going through military, went through corporate. Again, we encourage everybody catching this. If you miss anything, go back and hit the replay button because this is a incredibly powerful conversation. Check out mentaljoe.com. Great website, all the information that you're offering there. You've talked about, having those great partners, vendors like John and the team at Apparel Redefined. Best business advice that you've received going into your entrepreneurial journey, or that you would like to share with maybe a young entrepreneur that's just starting out? What's the best business advice that you feel that you've ever received?
Man, I would just say try to find that best team, right? Don't realize that you can't be an expert in every field. There's just no way. Find your strengths, find out what you're good at, do those things, and then slowly try to put the other pieces of the puzzle together. Like I said, I'm really good at the marketing. I'm really good about telling my story. I'm really good at shaking hands, kissing babies and networking. I'm really good at all that stuff. That's part of the real estate background, right? That has brought me to this point. But I'm not good at the marketing. And I'm okay at the apparel stuff, but I've got a heat press at home and a hat press at home, and that's not my expertise. But if I can have a team like John's do that for me, now I can focus on something else. So I would just say, don't try to be an expert about everything. Give yourself some grace and realize that you don't have to go 100 miles an hour. It's okay to pause. Don't quit. It's okay to pause, reassess, and then re-engage.
Excellent advice, my friend. So, all right, guys, we're going to close out. And so, Chad, thank you, man. What an honor. What a privilege it was for me to hear your story. Keep firing on all cylinders, man. Just think of how many people need to hear your story. Wear a t-shirt of yours, wear a hoodie, wear a hat, and just, get that message out there that there are alternatives to have a better life. And again, just like you mentioned with our friend, our Vietnam veteran, 72 years old, you're changing their life. So, hey, John, how about a round of applause for our dear friend, our guest today, Chad McLean. So, John, thank you
Awesome
for this
stuff.
opportunity. Guys, check out Apparel Redefined. John, anything you want to close us out with?
No, I mean, this was an amazing episode. So honored and grateful to have this conversation. And thank you for your time, Kurt. And look forward to the next one.
Yeah, it's gonna be, you know what? We've got some amazing, incredible guests coming up, but John, it's gonna be tough to top this one. Don't tell anybody I
I
said
know.
that, but it is gonna be tough to top this one. So, guys, we just want to wish you an amazing day. If you are struggling, if there's any challenges,
For
reach
sure.
out. There are people that are help you, just like Chad shared with us. Go out and get some help, and again, buy some t-shirts, man. It's a great way to spread the message. So we will see you on our next episode. Chad, thanks again. We appreciate you. God bless you guys, and we'll catch you at the next episode.